Hello. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about the lower selves, which are below the horizon. That's why it might appear to be somewhat negative. In the case of Gurdjieff, for example, he speaks of the mechanical man. But this is so only when completely disconnected from the higher selves above the horizon. So in the first quadrant, we are not free in any way. We can properly say that we are being acted out. Something happens to us, and we have no choice in the situation. If we look at the body center in the first quadrant, we see the first house associated with our vitality and our moving center. I take two examples. In order to avoid the complexities, I'm hinting only at the main issues. A Virgo ascendant is connected with the process of assimilation, both the food and the perceptions. There is often an imbalance in it. In the connection with the moving center, there is guardedness in the appearance and in the motions. Quite a different situation in the case of Sagittarius, with his pomposity, who takes up a lot of space. The vitality is connected with the metabolic synthesis and detoxification, which we can see on the body level in the liver. Psychologically, we could speak of the subject of not accomplishing the high ideals of the Sagittarius, which leads to bad conscience, which is then suppressed and needs to be purified. In the first house, we have the energy of the ascendant, usually, but sometimes followed by the next sign, which is included. Like in this case, this house consists of Pisces and Aries, the latter included. In this case, there can be some unsoundness in the expression of the Pisces energy on the automatic level, combined with a dash of immediacy and unspokenness of Aries. But this can show up only on the level of material self. The vitality is very delicate, but in the Pisces, but underneath there is some agitation of the Aries, so it resembles a water pot on fire. When we move to the 4th house, the situation changes. We have the Gemini IC. It is essentially sensitive and not so mechanical. The body is more agile, versatile, and light-hearted. The whole reactional self is very curious, interested, but more on a superficial level. So let's have a look at another chart with the 1st and 4th house. In this case, the guy has a Leo ascendant and Libra IC, which means his appearance is vital, with a sense of self-importance. You have the impression his motor is running, but this is only on the automatic level. By the way, sometimes we can observe something different in such a situation. There are other factors of the chart which can modulate the expression very strongly. For example, Saturn or Pluto in conjunction with the ascendant, or the other poles of the main cross, they can modulate it so strongly that you can't observe it. But as I said, I won't go into the complexities of it here. The reactional self is determined by the sign of Libra. When he becomes more sensitive, slows down, connects more with his feelings, then the appearance shifts to Libra. There is a put-on friendliness. He's not so sure anymore. He's very considerate. He minds you, whereas as Leo he was minding only himself, not even noticing it. This doesn't mean that the ascendant is somewhat inferior comparing with the IC. They are just occupying different roles. When we learn to drive a car, we have to be attentive. This is not possible with the material self, because we can't yet drive automatically. So we go on with the reactional self mostly. When there has been some routine, we can hand the driving over to the material self, because we don't have to be conscious of every bodily movement that we have to do. So the problem is more that a big part of our life is governed by the material self, and the rest mostly determined by the reactional self. which the latter is alive, but not yet really conscious. So living under the horizon in the first and second quadrant, we are still fixated to our patterns. So let's come back to the second, to the feeling center. The emotional center in the second house is equally in Leo. So this guy has rather a feeling of superiority, but there is no real self-worth on the automatic level. The whole material self is a kind of ghost. So the emotional center persuades him, of course not consciously, to feel greater, more marvelous than the others. When his will shifts from the material to reactional self, we could use here also the expression of Carlos Castaneda, the assemblage point. The situation changes. Here we have on IC the Libra energy, the main one, and subsidiary the Scorpio for the emotional center. So although he is a friendly guy, he is emotionally looking for control and can sometimes be quite dogged. Yes, so let's look at the other case. The feeling center of the material self in Taurus. Perceiving its own sluggishness on this level, in the search for security in terms of material belongings, a sense for practical issues. But changing to the reactional self, we have the IC in Gemini and the 5th house in Cancer. With the sensitive Gemini energy, he is light-hearted, open, curious, and with the subsidiary Cancer energy, somewhat lyrical, sentimental, but also touchy. So I'll speak about the third center, the mental, in the next clip. Bye bye.